Good morning. Good morning. It's an early time. I'm up early this morning. How y'all doing today? This is your boy, your uncle, your cousin, your brother, your son, everything, Bobby Hill, with another episode of the Big Damn. Hope everybody had a great weekend. I did. Man, spend every time I spend time with my wife, it's a great weekend. And I watched did a little bit of work, and yesterday we sort of took a break. But last night, my wife, she used to watch football a little bit. I think she used to watch before we met. She used to watch the Cowboys. I think, with had a group of friends when she stayed out in the valley, and they used to watch football. The Cowboys, just this deep in cowboy country down here. Just that's the way it is. And um, but she ain't really watched too much anything else, like as far as sports. So early this year, um, I think it was early this year or maybe in the year last year. I was going, we're looking at I was looking at TikTok. She was looking at my phone, and she happened to see this, tall, slim kid, just dominating everybody, taller than everybody. And I told her, I said, this guy's the future right here. He said he's right here in San Antonio. I said he's the future. He said like he is 7'4" and he is a beast. Can't nobody stop him. And I told him that. His name is Victor Wembanyama. I even spelled it for him. Wembanyama. Wembanyama. So they call him Wemby for short. And some people call him Big Vic. I call it whatever. It just, but and since then, it always piqued her attention. Like this because he started. These phones are already algorithm. They always listening to you, so you talk about something enough, sooner or later it come on your phone. And sure enough, she was starting getting little videos about Webby, showing like little highlights and stuff. So I was I was seeing. I don't haven't watched a lot of sports. Like I said, I don't keep up with it. I do keep up with it in a sense, but not like whenever all the games are played. So I was going through my I think it was Peacock, and I seen where they came on last night at 8 o'clock. So I told her, I said, tonight, we watching the Spurs tonight. They the hometown team. I said, watching, they're pretty good. I said, we're gonna watch them tonight. That you get a chance to see Wimpy a whole game. So we sat here and last night we watched the game last night. She was very engaged from the very beginning. And we watched, watched Wembanyama dominate. That man is unstoppable. It's just the only thing that can stop him is injury. Godfrey, because he is a slim kid. And there's some people out there, take a bow to the ribs, man. And I mean, he's still frail. He still can something like that. But other than that, man, that man is he's like a creative player. Playing back in the day, you create your own player, and you be able to create a player and put all the skills on 99. That's Wemby. I mean, that man, it's not fair. He's like, I guess he imagined what like Wilt Chamberlain was like back in the 60s. No, when everybody was a certain, every everybody was a certain height, a certain skill, and he just came out of nowhere looking, tall, athletic, can do everything. That's what women and just that much better than everybody, you know. So we watched the game. Every time when we, called it, he called it alley. When it won, when he spent. I think the one that really caught attention when he's I think he was at the top of the key and he spent. I think he did a little cross and spent and just went all and just took one step and went all the way from the free throw, almost from the 3 point line, all the way to the goal. Just like that. Like, oh my God, I like you can't stop. No. And another player that impressed her was the guy from I think they call him Denny from Portland. Yes, yes. He impressed. Yes. He's pretty good. He stood out last night too. He did not, he did not, wilter to Wemby. He stepped up to him and they gave him, they didn't, he's just that much better, but you know, he just that much dominant over all them. But that Portland put up a good fight. Even though the score was like that, and there was a time where it looked like San Antonio was going like run away with the game. Portland come back. I went to the bathroom. I take a small break. Like that, and we come back, and Portland almost taking the lead or single digits. Like, oh my god! And then but yeah, Portland pretty good team. I would be surprised they win a game or two in here, but I think San Antonio's going to win this. And saying they're looking tough. I don't know. Now I hope they can, at least they get to the Western Conference Finals. And I hope they can make it to the finals because it's very, they support their team a lot around here. It's very, very good feeling in some places around here. You know, right now it's not a good feeling around here because it's damn near it's only 60 degrees out here. I talked to my mans in North Carolina. I asked them I said, what's the temperature out there? They said about 90. I said, believe it or not, man, the high was like 60 something degrees Saturday, and the wind chill. The wind had 35-mile-per-hour gusts, and the wind chill made it feel like it was 50 degrees on Friday in South Texas. Know what's going on. That was a drastic change. A drastic change. But it's okay. It's all right. I can deal with the weather change. I'm from North Carolina, where sometimes when the weather was I was used to like having the four seasons and stuff like that. But I'm this is sort of like it don't bother me at all. But I know that heat coming though, for real. But and that being said, like I said, I enjoyed watching that game with my wife last night. It was very good. Just I like talking, especially in the fact that she don't follow sports or stuff like that. It's the fact that she don't follow it, but she's willing to learn because I like it. She's willing to learn just to, we can sit and have that time together watching the game. And I tell her what's going on and tell her how, I feel like I'm a student of the sports, man. I'm very knowledgeable. I learned, I played it and I studied it, and I studied and I feel like, can tell her about it. I tell her who I like, who I don't like, what I feel, what I don't feel. And she lets me know. She got eyes. She can see. She can see when somebody looks dominant out there. You don't need to, have a doctorate in basketball to know when you see somebody dominant out there. Or when you see something that you like and see something that don't look right, you don't have to have, a whole lot of knowledge to see that. You have an eye, you have eyes, you can see. But yeah, she's willing to learn, and I'm willing to teach her. So yeah, I enjoy that. Watch football a little bit. I do the same thing with her in football. I know football. I feel like those are my two. I know the sports I know best. That can talk. I can talk about all of them because I know as long as I know the basic rules. I can talk golf. I never played golf before, other than putt putt, miniature golf. But I know the rules. I know most of the rules. I don't know like all the rules because I haven't been in one of the clubhouses. I don't know any of the unwritten rules, but I know the basic how they score. I know what a green and a rough and a fairway and a tee shot look like. I know what par and birdie and eagle look like and bogey look like. So I can explain that. So I'm good. I can explain tennis. I to tennis lesson when I was younger. I know the scoring system. Love 15. I think it's love 15, 30, 40, something like that. So I'm pretty. I try to be a student of stuff. So I try to you know have put a lot of knowledge in my mind. Put a lot of knowledge in here. Sometimes I might not. Some knowledge might be useless. I might not never use it again in my life. But at least I have it. I feel like it's good for your brain if it's filled with knowledge. It's better than it's filled with a lot of other stuff. You know, try to think about things. Try to think about stuff. Think about, think beyond, think beyond my circle and stuff. Try to think about the broader spectrum, and think about, like how I feel, or how this person feel, or how this community feel, and stuff like that. So, that's just our way I always been. Try not to be selfish. Try not to just think about me and my needs and me and my wants, because it's a lot bigger than me out here. It's a lot bigger than me. It's a lot bigger than you. It's a lot bigger than us. You know. I said, with that being said, like I said, just it feels good to have somebody here that we can install, and we can, enjoy stuff like that as well, like enjoying a basketball game, enjoying a football game, enjoy cooking together, enjoy, just we do laundry together, and, we clean up together, we sort of, she's, type of person that one type of people that likes cleaning a lot. It's like a therapy for her, mentally. You get in your little zone and you start cleaning, and it could ease your mind. That's a fact. It happens to me. Have things on my mind. I can sit up here and clean the whole house, and just it'll ease my mind and stuff. And that's what nobody does for her. So we would clean together. She'd be in one, she might be in the kitchen, I'd be in the garage, cleaning the garage. Or she'd be doing laundry, I'd be cleaning the bathroom, stuff like that. We try to, do things sometimes we be in the same room, and sometimes we be in separate rooms so we can get more done. You know. So, I mean, that's how we do it. And it's a good thing, and I love it. And it's, I just, a lot of things going on in life. I know there's a lot of problems and stuff. There's a lot of issues and stuff going on in life, but it's just, it's good to have somebody there, so you don't have to be sitting up here worrying about the bigger things all the time. She can, help you bring it down. Clear your mind and bring everything down to where you're thinking about everything, to just thinking about you and her in that moment and stuff like that. So yes, it's good to have that balance in your life. And so like I said, I love it. It took me a long time to find it. Took me damn near. It took me 49 years to find it, but better late than never. You know, took took everything I went through, throughout my life and relationships and stuff to get to this. I mean, if it's this feeling I got, it's worth it. And I hope if people haven't experienced it, I hope they get to experience it. And the ones that are experiencing it, I hold on to it. I know what you mean. I know how it feels. I know, and it's a beautiful thing. Like I said, we sit back and watch a basketball game. You can sit back and watch a track meet, or sit back and watch, a damn baseball game. I don't, don't trust me. I won't watch a baseball game until the playoffs. Period. I haven't watched a full baseball season since the 86 Mets. I watched a lot of games mainly because so we had cable back in the day, but we didn't have a lot of channels like that. But we had WGN Chicago. That's why I was able to watch a lot of Michael Jordan, because we had Chicago and they always played the board, always showed the board. And they had they had a New York channel. I forgot what it was, but they always played the Mets. And this was when the Mets were good. They had they had, you look at it now, man. They had Darryl Strawberry. They had Dwight Gooden. They had, I think, Mookie Wilson. They had Kevin Mitchell. They had Keith Hernandez. They had Lenny Dykstra. They have Jesse Orosco. I think they might have had him. I'm trying to think another. My goodness. Gary Carter, the catch. Yes, Gary Carter. I'm trying to remember everybody. it's hard, but that was a great team. I remember that. That was one of my best teams. That made me fall in love with the Mets. One of the I know I'm all over the place, but growing up, one of the heartbreaks as a fan, first heartbreaks. I know people have it when your player leaves. The one of the heartbreaks I first had as a young kid, I think I was a teenager when it happened. I think was when Darryl Strawberry left the Mets and went to the Dodgers. Yeah, I was very upset with that. I was very that yeah, that made me stop watching the Mets. I still liked him, but I stopped watching him because Darryl Strawberry was gone. He was one of my favorite players back in the day. I love Darryl Strawberry. You know, Darryl Strawberry. Doc Gooden and it's like Ozzie Smith and Barry Bonds, Bobby Bonilla, Ricky Henderson. People can hate on what he want, whatever, however things came out later. But I used to like Jose Canseco. Yo, he was the man back in okay. He was a beast out there. Yes, that he from Oakland A's. They were bad, but like I said, it's glad. Like I said, it's good to have somebody. Like I said, it's good to have somebody that you can sit here and just bond with and stuff. Like I said, and even with stuff that she wants. I've sat here and you know I watched a lot of stuff from her, like with her. Like I watched a lot of Spanish movies. Had to translate, had to read on the bottom. I watched, watched a lot of television shows and stuff together, binge watch, stuff together, and I enjoyed that time. We binge watched a few things. You know, one the recent thing we binge watched. I didn't think I was gonna like it, but it was last year we binge watched. I think it was Sons of Anarchy, and then we watched the Mayans after that. And that was I like that. I didn't think I was gonna like it, but pretty good, both of them. You know, I I think another thing that tried to do Walking Dead, but it was okay. But I tried to do Breaking Bad, did it for a little while. It was you know. Now what we've been watching was 911, and I think we do the last season of that, the current season. And that's a great show, and she talks about how shows be some of the shows be tear jerkers. So watch some of that. So yeah, just even that, try to be well rounded, watch different things. I don't just watch one type of show. I try to watch something to bring out all your emotions, something to make you laugh, something to make you cry, something to get you upset, something that takes you to the edge of your seat, stuff like that. Something that brings out, and there's different things they can do. It's different kind of movies. Don't have to be all the same thing. But yes, like I said, I had a good, it was a good time us doing this, experiencing this. She wants to go to a game, but I'm gonna try to do that. I don't know. I was saying, like, me being here in Texas, me growing up in Southeast North Carolina, and I never been around the like I never been in proximity to a whole bunch of pro teams. Like in Southeast North Carolina, to be honest, the only college we had college. The only college we had around, the closest college we had was Fayetteville State University. That was a Division two HBCU. They had UNCW. That was a Division one, like one AA one school, but they didn't have a football team. So it was just basketball. It was like a small Division one school. Then Campbell University, same thing. They got a football team now, but they're a Division one. But they're a small Division one school. And then we had the bigger Division one schools, like you had the state, state our way, Duke, Carolina. Then a few miles away you had Wake Forest, and North Carolina A&T and UNC Greensboro and Charlotte, which is like 3 hours away. But that was the closest pro team we had was the either the Charlotte when they first came Carolina Panthers now and Charlotte Hornets, 3 hours away. And then after that, either you go up to Washington to see the Reds. I mean, I'm sorry, back in the day was the back in the day they had a different name. They were Redskins. Now they're the Washington Commanders. So we used to go watch them. You could go see them, or you can go down to Atlanta. Atlanta's like 5.5, 6 hours away. So they didn't have that many options for pro teams and stuff like that growing up. And they have now. That's why I'm like being here, the proximity to all these pro teams because I got the thing. San Antonio Spurs here. Then you got a few hours away in Houston. I said a few hours, like 3 hours away in Houston. You got the Houston Astros, the Houston Rockets, and Houston Texans. Then you go that's east. You go north about 3.5, 4 hours. You got the Dallas Mavericks. You have the Dallas Cowboys. Then you have the Texas Rangers. Then you also have the hockey team Dallas Stars. So being all this proximity to all these pro teams, I'm getting used to that experience. But hopefully I'll be able to go to one of these events, take my lovely wife. We can experience that. It'll be very nice. Still hoping. It's things to come. Things to come. It's not just be honest and just have some morals. 51 years old, ain't out here, I'm out here trying to relax, trying to chill, I'm trying to enjoy, trying to enjoy life, not sit up here being bogged down and worry about all the stuff that I have no control over, because you cannot let that stuff stress you out. You can't let that stuff get to you. Some things you don't have control over. Some things you don't have control over. But what I do have control over is this right here, and what I bring to you. And what I like bringing to y'all is my honesty, speaking on my mind, speaking, what's going on out here in the world a little bit. I'm trying, stay away from some of the mess. Don't get like too into, maybe like say a little bit what's on my mind, but don't get too wrapped up in the details because, like I said, I have no, I can't change it. You can just talk about it. We can discuss it. I'll give you my opinion. You give your opinion. Then we just talk about it and that's it. We can't sit here and do nothing about it, because it's out of our hands until election time. And then it's sort of have control, kind of, sort of, if you think so. Some people don't think so. Some people don't think, but if you have your vote, you still don't have any power, honestly, with the way things happen, prove them wrong. Prove them that, proving that your vote doesn't have power is a lot easier than convincing people that their vote has power. With the way things go out, the way things come out in this world, out here in this election, the elections in these countries, how these people, just manipulate the system and try to, I hear these old people trying to maintain power, instead of just, allowing the new breed to come up, around the youngsters to come up, to take charge. They trying to hold on to their old ways and their power. It's just, that's part of the problem in this country. We're sitting with an 80-year-old president. Make it make sense. And I want people to honestly look and tell me, honestly. Half of y'all don't even trust an 80-year-old on the damn road driving a car. You know why? Because he in the right lane doing damn 50 and a 70. You don't trust an 80-year-old. What would you trust an 80-year-old doing? In your life, name something that you would trust an 80-year-old person doing. But the bright people in this country decide to put an 80-year-old in charge of the nuclear code. 80-year-old that thinks that you should inject bleach in your arms to get rid of a respiratory virus. That's the world we living in right now. That's why it's so good that you can escape and watch with your wife and watch a 7'4" monster dominate. That's why it's so good you can do that to get your mind off of this crazy mess over here, at least 2.5 hours. But yeah, like other than that, we did good. Throw some food on the grill. That's how I get down from North Carolina, baby. You know, grill. I don't know about being a grill master, but I guess now I can. I know I can cook. I got to, learn it from my mother. Just have my, men and my family, cousins and stuff. My father, my cousins, and watching on the grill. Then on my turn, stepped it up. Like I said, I know how to cook. I learned that from my mom, watching her. And when I was in college, when I was on my own, I wanted to learn something. I would just, ask her how to make it, and she would tell it to me, and I would write it down, and I would learn it and learn how to cook. Well, cooking to me, cooking is not hard. It's all about having patience. Everything you can't cook fast. You can't be rushing. You can't do like that. You can't, some cook. You got to when the older people telling us you have to cook with love. That's the truth. Man. You have to put heart. You have to do it. You can't say to me, and I mean you do it when you're hungry because you're hungry. But to me, personally, this is my personal thing. It's me. I don't cook. You cook. I don't cook because I'm hungry. Cook because I want to see. I want to, share what I know with other people. I want to share my fact that I know how to cook this with other people and let them enjoy it. Because I've cooked it for myself before. I want other people to enjoy it. So one of the biggest satisfactions is when I cook something. If I see everybody else, first of all, if it's all gone, there's no leftovers. Oh my God, that's like yes. That's an ego shot. Like, oh my God, everybody love what I cook. That's a good thing. And then, everybody sitting down, I love what that was real good. I love that. I love what you made, whatever it was. I loved it. It feels good to know that you did something to help people and it was good and people enjoyed it. So that's very special to me. That means a lot. Just people enjoying stuff that you do because you do it. Like I said, you put your heart into it when you do it. I'm not trying to show off or anything. Just trying to help people. Trying to help them. If I can help them with, making them something good to eat. If I can do that, then I do it. Yes. But I'm looking forward to how it's going to be around here in the next few weeks, because hopefully, the hopefully the Spurs keep on winning. Hopefully Wemby keep on, doing his thing. Hopefully he stay, I understand now watching, he had a fall last night and I said, oh my God, he's hurt. But they, did it. They had a fall come back, they put him out. And I understand why they like restrict his minutes because he's a beast and he has a motor. He wants the ball every time and he wants to score every time. Every time he goes hard at it. And then sometimes, by doing that, you might put yourself in harm's way to get injured and stuff. So sometimes you have to protect the player against himself. So I understand why they give minutes restrictions, but while he's out there, Jesus Christ, man. What can you do with a 7'4" that steps back and shoot threes? Then when you step up on him, he can cross you and then spin you, go behind the back, do a spin move. And take one step from behind the free throw line and reach and be all the way over the basket and just drop it in. What can you do with that? That's good, and he knows he's good, and will tell you that he's good, and got that swagger. I mean, I love, like I said, this is my country. This is where I'm from, but we in trouble in the Olympics in basketball. Let's go ahead and face it, man. France. They got him. What are we gonna do to stop them? I mean, those in the gold medal game last year. I mean, we beat them last. Beat now, yeah, beat. It took a last few minutes Herculean effort by Steph Curry for us to beat them. And look who we had on the squad. Now this next American squad, I don't know. That's all I can say. Right? You look at look here. You got who you got? Of course, you got Cooper Flag. I'm pretty sure you have him up there. Probably might have Zion. They ain't gonna have John Morant no more. He would have. He don't. God, he pisses me off, man. I don't understand him. Um, I don't know Anthony Edwards. I don't know. I mean, just saying, it's gonna be interesting how we do in the Olympics next time in basketball from the world because there are a lot of great players around this world, and American basketball has you know I think they sort of like been exposed a little bit. Personally, I think so. The world is catching up. The world has better systems. We have American. Our system is so got so many greedy predators out here trying to make money off these kids when they find out they have a talent at an early age. They got so many kids out here, so many predators out here trying to take advantage of these kids and make money off of them at an early age. Man, they just destroy these kids so young. You know, by the time by the time they get to the NBA, they wore out basically because they've been used and just not allowed. First of all, not allowed to grow up and be a child, grow up, acting like a pro athlete at a young age. Man, that's not healthy for these kids. Mentally. For them to handle stuff like this. That's just it's just I think it takes a toll on them in that AAU circuit. How these and they claim these players are a whole lot better than these now. I fail to agree. I mean, I agree. I don't agree with that. Not because I'm 51 years old and I'm holding on to the past, time and stuff like that. Nah, because players play more sports, man. They were better athletes because they play more things, man. All right, he had a basketball player, he might play football and he used football to make him a better basketball player, or he used track to make him a better football player, or used basketball to make him a better football player, and so on and so on. Play and they talk about how these players they play AAU basketball and stuff. You think about these AAU games, these players play a few minutes, they play a few minutes a game here, a few minutes a game there, and stuff like that. Whereas back when we play, in off season, we might play, pick up games all day long. And you running all day long out here in this heat, out here on the blacktop, stuff like that. The kids don't play on the blacktop no more. I fail to believe that these athletes are better. They have more resources to recover from injury. Yes, they do. That they do. They have more stuff. But it seems like these players are getting injured more. They're not in there. I don't know what's going on. They say they're better athletes, but they're getting injured more. You know, I mean, all they play is pick and roll. They play pick and roll, and everything now is a 3-pointer or a dunk. They're not taught the movement without the ball. A lot of standing around, a lot of one-on-one stuff like that. And that was a little bit last night that frustrated me with the Spurs a little bit. I think they can win the title, but they frustrated a little bit, because I think I think Darren Fox needs. I think he's okay, but I think he's a little rated. He's not. I don't know. He was with Sacramento, a sorry team. Sorry, a franchise is not used. Don't say sorry, but a franchise is not, had a lot of success. and he scored a lot of points on a bad team. Then you come to a good team, still thinking that you had that swag that you had on that bad team, man. I think he need to take a step back and sometimes stop trying to force everything. You got your man, you got the big Vic out there. Get him the ball, and y'all run through him. He will get you open shots. Stop sitting up here thinking you can break everybody down off the dribble when you can't. You know, and then Castle's okay too, but he's okay. But the problem is, I seen last night that you out here, I hate the guards I hate, you know, hate Storm, I hate. I don't like hate or whatever. Is the ones that sit up here always trying to look for the contact. Instead of playing ball, you looking for the foul. Always look for the foul instead of just playing. You get the foul, you get the foul. But you play try to make the shot. You don't play try to get fouled all the time. You know? And that's what I felt like. I seen him at times, and like he was trying to do that. And then when he get called, he complaining to the refs and stuff. And you know, I shut away from that. But yeah, all in all, like I said, they should be pretty good. I'm looking for big things for them this year. I hope so. It's here. We'll see. They got one down. We'll see how they respond, and then the real test is how they respond when they have to go to Portland. That will be the test. That's the real test. You know, Last night was the test because they haven't had playoff experience like that. This was the test of okay, how they going to react being their first game in the playoff. The real test can be how they going to react their first road playoff game. That will determine whether this team is ready to, how they going against Portland. Real Portland, how they going? Are they going? Is it going to be easy, or are they going to advance? Or are they going to be one of these teams that plays good? It don't matter where they at home, at Frostbank Center, or anywhere else. They still going to bring the same intensity, or are they going to be a team that only does it at home and then on the road they sort of fold a little bit? We'll find out. Looking forward to it. When I get a chance, me and the other lady gonna watch it. Have her talking about Vic. Next thing knows, I'm having a Vic. I'm having a Vic the Wembanyama jersey. Eventually I'm gonna have her up here. I'm gonna have her up here with me on some episodes. I told her I want to bring her up here and let her, talk. I love, she's a very spirited young lady. She's, like I said, she's a Mexican American. You know, she was born here. She was born here in Texas. Got family from Mexico. Just it's very. She's very spirited, and I want to have her up here. Want her to talk to y'all. Want to introduce you to her. She's a beautiful lady, man. She's very very intelligent. You know, very spirited. That's all I can say. Very interesting when we be up here. And I'll tell them what we'll talk about. I talk about some of the crazy stuff we had on when I was on driving trucks. I had on the road with me. Went out across the country. Went cross country like a couple of times. Went from Maine all the way to Portland, Oregon one time. And I went from Georgia to California. Went through seen a lot of stuff. Let her explain a little bit of it. No, but yes, it's good to have. Like I said, she's my partner in life. We go through it all together. She helps me out with this. Like I said we're working out. I helping her out, getting back in shape and stuff, and get myself back in shape. We love doing that together too. Trying to get my wind back. Trying to get running. I haven't started back running. But I'm trying to get more. Trying to be able to get my wind up, be able to run. I don't know how far what my goal is to, get a mile, maybe 2 miles or something, be able to run like Young Trimmer run 2 miles and then go work out. And that's how I do it. I run first, then go work out. So I don't know how I'm gonna, I don't know what my goal is, but once I get it, I'll let y'all know. I'll keep y'all, I'm gonna share my progress. Let you know how it's going. I said, if I need, get somebody some tips, some pointers, or maybe somebody give me some pointers, we can do that. So we're always here to help each other. We're all here to, live on this daggone planet. We ain't gonna live in harmony, but just try to live here with it. Stay out of each other's way. Help whenever you can, but you can't help everybody. And if nobody and if the person you helping don't want to get help, you just wasting your time. Sad to say, can't help everybody. Yeah, I'm up sitting here talking to y'all. I wish I could do it all day, but I can't. Can't. You gotta, have it in little segments. I don't want to bore y'all to death. I could talk all day like Captain America. I could do this all day. But yeah, like if y'all like what you see, if you like what you hear, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and hit the notifications, let you know whenever I go live. And if you can't catch it, just go on my page. It's right there. I'm here. Like I said, trying to get this thing going. It don't matter. I'm still tough, steady, patient, consistent. I will be here. Hope I'll try to be here tomorrow. I'll be here tomorrow. Maybe the same time. I don't know. Maybe not. If not, be in the afternoon. Like I said, I started like putting it on Facebook. Whenever I go, I always say the big dam is on deck. I mean, within the next 5 or 15 minutes, I'll be going on. I'll be going live. So that's what that means when I put that. To let you know, FYI. Whenever you see a post, then about the next 10, 15 minutes, I'll be going. Yes. Yes, yes. Yes, yes. But I'd like to thank y'all for coming in here with me today. I hope you have a great rest of your day. For those though, from a Spanish speaking, que tengas un buen día. I see y'all tomorrow. Hopefully I see y'all tomorrow. Hope everybody could come back here tomorrow. Hope everybody have a great day. I love everybody that come here and listen to me. I'll see you tomorrow.